Okay, I'm back. It's been forever, but I came here today to show you these new things that just came in. These are our new matte black makeup brushes with an etched logo, and if you flip it over, it has the etched brush name. We have some new versions, so I want to go over all of these with you so you know how to use them. Brush number 1 is called the Sheer Primer and Foundation Brush. We have 2 now. This is for the cute in carpool people who want something natural and sheer, and you can use it to put on the tinted primer. If you're a client that only wears tinted primer, this is the brush that you'd want to go for. It's very similar to our old primer and foundation brush in the way that it gives a really nice, smooth, even finish when you swipe it across the skin, twist around the nose to fill in the pores, and tap to add when you need a little bit more coverage. I still use this brush even though I have started using the one that I'm going to talk about next on top. But take a look at the difference already with just the primer on. Now I'm going to use the photo filter with the one I was talking about called the Flawless Primer and Foundation Brush. There's no problem with using one or the other, but I choose to use both. And I use this one with only half a pump of the photo filter. I put it on the back of my hand, and then I go in with the brush, and I do it in more of a patting motion, mostly because I have rosacea and I like to get rid of all of that redness. Look at the difference between this side of the face and the other side of the face that I have not used with the photo filter and the new Flawless foundation brush. You can definitely tell that the side that I'm working on is a lot more flawless than the other side. I use this to kind of buff in along the jawline as well. Next up is our new concealer brush. You can tell it is twice the size compared to what it used to be, and I have separated it so you no longer share it for your brow lift and eye base. It is simply for concealer. So the full coverage concealer here, you guys should already know how to use this stuff. But if you missed the under eye hammock post that I did a couple of months ago, that's what I'm doing right here. Look at how different my under eyes look after applying with this technique. When you use the new concealer brush, you want to put it on in a tapping motion going right up against the lash line. And to create the under eye hammock, you want to go all the way up the inner corner of the nose and out towards the end of the eyebrow. And look, it looks like you had an instant eye lift. Wow. After you do that, you always want to take your finger and press it in so that way it makes it look like skin when you add a fingerprint to it. No brush, no sponge. You can create a skin-like look like your finger can. Look at the difference. Wow. Now I'm going to do the other side, but I won't bore you with all the details because you've already seen it once and you don't need to see it again. But when you put on under eye concealer, you got to use the concealer setting powder brush. I'm using a little bit of the mattifying oil blot powder, which is a translucent powder to set it so it doesn't crease. And if you notice as I'm applying it, I'm going out to in, not in to out. That right there is wrong. You want to make sure you're going out to in so you go against the grain. This is the new setting powder brush, very similar to the old famous clean sweep brush. I use this with my setting powder, massage it into the brush, and I tap it onto the skin first. You never want to rough up wet skin. Only after you press it in do you buff it in to get between the little hairs on your face. Then next up, after you've powdered everything and it's nice and matte, you move over to the cheek section. I've got 4 brushes now. The first one is the Sheer Contour. This is really good for you cute in carpoolers that are looking for something very natural and very sheer to apply your bronzer. So I'm using the Golden Contour all the way across my neck. Even if you're a drama girl, I would still recommend using this brush on the neck so it doesn't get too stripy. The purpose of putting bronzer on the neck is to pull everything from the chest to the neck to the face in together. Look at the difference. See how white my neck looks there and it doesn't look like that on the other side? That's because I use bronzer right where the sun didn't shine. You just keep bronzing right there till everything matches, and look how good the face, the neck, and the chest match now. Now I'm going to use a little bit of the bronzer on and below the cheekbone. This is how I get that very sheer contour. Do not go on top of the cheekbone, but instead on and below the cheekbone to get that nice sculpted shadow. Also buff around the ear, temples, and forehead. That just helps give a little bit more of a shadow effect. I also like how it makes my face look a little bit warmer, pulling it into the color on my arms better too. Now this brush is new and I'm so freaking excited about it. It's called the Sculpt Contour. It's really good for those of you who like a more chiseled bronzer look, meaning you want to look 5 to 10 pounds thinner on your face. Who doesn't want that? I love to use this on and below the cheekbone right there. And you can see as I'm doing it, it's really building that contour to look more developed, more sculpted, and your face looks skinnier. Do not use the angled portion of it and don't go too high. Make sure the longer portion of the brush is pointed up and the shorter one is pointed down, just hugging the bottom portion of the cheekbone. And look at the difference there. Okay, now do not use this brush for your neck, please, for the love of God. It's going to look so stripy and you're going to be a hot mess. Okay, so now we're going to talk about blush. This is the new sexy blush brush. It seriously feels like a bunny rabbit, but it's not because it's vegan. And when you put your blush on, you just want to pop the apples of the cheek. I do not want to see ear to nose stuff. Just keep it on the apples. It looks nice and glowy. No David Bowie, please, for the love of God. Okay, so after you get your blush on, then you can move over to the highlighter brush. This is a brand new brush. We have not had a brush specifically for highlighter before. It looks very similar to the concealer brush, but I assure you it is not. When I turn it sideways, you can see the concealer brush is much thinner and more flat, where this one's a little bit more oval. I'm going to use the Velvet Rose highlighter, which is our only highlighter now. Very little of it, and I always use the back of my hand to massage it in just a bit. Hit the Cupid's bow, watch this little sucker's little light up in a second, top of my nose, and then I also put some on top of the cheekbone, more towards the outer portion, not so close into the apples of my face, just to hit the highlight there to make my cheekbones go boom, boom, pow. Okay, next up is my lips. Really, this is not necessary as a part of the video, but I can't just all of a sudden have lips on, so I'm going to show you Heather Plum as my lip liner, and then I go in with the Immortelle matte called Pink for Yourself, and then I go back with the Disco Dust lip gloss. Now, I normally wear this lipstick matte, but the Disco Dust is so pretty, and it's a light lavender to match my blue dress, so I'm going to go ahead and put it on for this tutorial. You can do it either way, but it will stay on longer if you go matte. Okay, so next up is to frame my eyes with some eyebrows. Lord knows I need some of those. I'm going to comb the brows up and then draw short little hair-like strokes and an upward motion to frame out these suckers. So what I'm doing now is I'm starting towards the inner corner of the eye and going up towards the arch. Tiny little strokes, not a hard, dark line. And when I get to the second half of my brow, do you see how I'm pulling it more towards my temple versus a straight down line? It looks a lot more like hair, and this is a technique that I started to do a couple years ago, and I like it much better. Then I flip around the brush and use the softening tool and then see if there's any little spaces that I can fill in just to enhance it a little bit more. Now I'm going to do the other side, which is my much, much thinner brow, the sad panda as I call it. And I have to do a lot more drawing on this side to make it match the other one, which to me is probably about twice the size as the one I'm working on now. Especially towards the end, I really have to spend some time making it look more like hair. Okay, so this is called Brow Wigs. If you haven't tried this, you're really missing out. It is tiny little microfibers. I'm getting in there so you can see it, with a tinted brow gel. So it's three things in one. It's a brow gel, it's a tint, and it makes your eyebrows look twice as fluffy. So on my sad panda brow, do you see I'm going against the grain a little bit? It really does help the brow wigs grab a lot better, making more of the little microfibers drop off and making it match the other side. So I'm going to go back in with a little bit more of the brow wigs, and bam, they look the same now. This brush is the Brow Lift and Eye Base brush. Remember, the concealer, brow lift, and eye base used to be all used with the same brush, but people were complaining about concealer with oil getting on their eyelid and creasing their eye base. So I separated out per customer request. What I'm applying now is my brow lift. All of you guys that use my brand already know what this stuff is, so I don't need to go in detail. But if you're new here, it's a really nice creamy eye base that we put under the outer 2/3 of the brow that makes you look as if you had a brow lift and cleans up the underside of the brow. So I'm going to put some on this side as well, so you get the idea of what it looks like on both sides, so I don't look like a crazy person. Then I go back in with a tissue or a baby wipe and switch over to the eye base in natural. If you have never used this, oh my God, how do you even put your eye makeup on? This is like a magnet for your eyeshadow to keep it on your eyes all day and keep it from creasing. You do not want to put concealer or foundation on before this stuff. Just apply it straight to the lid and tap it in with your finger so it looks like skin. Do you see how it hid all the veins and redness on my eyelid? Obsessed with this product, literally can't go without it. Makes your eyeshadow so much more vibrant, and I love the longevity of it. I can actually sleep in it and wear it the next day. I may or may not have done that in Italy. Okay, now this is the lid brush. The lid brush I use with either matte or shimmer colors, only on the eyelid, the area that touches the eyeball. Right now I'm using a color called Taupe Priority. It's a light pearl, I wouldn't even say shimmer, that I love to apply all the way across my lid on days that I don't want a super bright color on my lid. And I tap, tap, tap all the way across up towards the crease where my brow bone starts. Then I go back in with the crease brush, and today I'm going to be using a color called Macchiato. I probably use this color more than every other eyeshadow that I have because it's the perfect color to hide the hooding that I have in the crease of my eye. It's like Spanx for my eyelid, making the skin look less flabby and like it's hanging down to my feet. and tucks it right back in there so nobody even knows that I'm 187 years old. So I buff that in right there, and after I get these two colors on, usually I just throw on mascara and leave. But today for you guys, I'm going to go in with my new crease brush and a color called Ready or Yacht eyeshadow. And I'm going to put this on the outer corner of my eye to match my blue dress. So I'm taking a little bit of this product, you don't need much of it, and I'm massaging it into the corner of my eye up into the crease a little bit. It's a tiny little V, or what some people say, C shape. You can use this with a blue, a brown, whatever color of the rainbow you want, just not too dark and definitely not one of your lighter shades. After I apply my Ready or Yacht, I'm going to go back in with that crease brush and a little bit of the Macchiato and massage it in. I don't want to see any edges on your corner brush. This little guy right here is the eyeliner brush, formerly known as the art liner brush, except for it's thinner, and I use it with the Winging It eyeliner. You can also use it with our cake liner called watercolor liner. Now, if it's yours, go directly from the tube like I just did and create yourself a little winged liner. My eyes are small. I like them to look a little bit longer, so I do put like a millimeter wing on the end. I don't make it like super cat eye all the way up to my eyebrow, but I like a little bit of lift, making the eyeliner go up on the outer edge. Now you see that I'm tight lining going on the inside of the eye to give it a nice defined rim, and look at the difference. I totally look lifted on that side, and the other side I look like a hairless cat. So now I have it on both eyes, and I'm moving over to the smoke brush. It used to be called the smoky eye smudge brush, with a little bit of my black velvet eyeshadow. Don't be scared of your really dark colors. They are your friend. They soften your eyeliner, and they just make everything look more airbrushed. Nothing wrong with a really defined cat eye, but this one, I've always loved the way it looks. I do this every day to my eyeshadow when I do 4 colors. I just really, really like to smoke and smudge. That way, if I didn't get my eyeliner exactly the same on both sides, this is like your magic eraser and makes everything look like you know what the hell you're doing, even when you don't. So now I'm going to do it to the other side, and I saw Starlyn the other day using this brush with one of our dark eyeshadow colors and creating a winged liner with this and not winging it liner. That was pretty nice too. When you're done, I don't care how good you think you are at eyeshadow, you are never going to get a clean, sharp look unless you go back with your concealer and clean it up like I'm doing right now. After you do that, take your finger and press it in. That way you have texture to it. And if you're going to put more concealer on, you have to go back and do a little bit more powder in a second as well. But you can see how on this side my eyeliner was just a little bit longer than the other. So I'm using this again like a magic eraser and cleaning it up to even it out on both sides. Don't stress out if it doesn't look exactly the same. You always can go back and smudge and blend and correct. Here comes the setting powder. That way it doesn't crease. And after I put on the setting powder, I'm going to go in and curl my lashes with this thing. Don't ask any questions. This is something that I'm testing, okay? It's not perfect. We're making some tweaks to it, so I'm not selling this product yet. So just pretend like you did not see this part of the video. Now I'm gonna go in with my infinity length mascara. I had somebody complain online that they thought this mascara sucked and didn't work. Well, I think she's wrong because I think it's awesome. I don't really like spidery, thick, clumpy mascara, so if that's what you're looking for, this is not for you. I have always thought that lashes should look like lashes, just be enhanced, almost like you dyed them. But mine are so thin that I like something that's not only going to lengthen them, but give me a tiny bit of volume as well without clumping them together. And I think Infinity Mascara is just that. So look at the difference, you guys. Oh my God, I'm coming together. This is the smoke brush that I used earlier with the black velvet. I've wiped it off, and now I'm going to use a little bit of the Taupe Priority that I used on my lid earlier on the bottom lash line. You guys probably already know how I feel about bottom eyeliner. Please, for the love of God, do not put the black color down here. But one of your light taupey shimmery colors is great to put right underneath to give you a light smoky frame if you want to do a nighttime look without looking hard and drawn on. Anywho, the brushes are here. They have arrived. They're all online. Super cute. So excited. Check them out, y'all. Thanks for watching.